New Year to everybody. This is our first lesson for the new lunar year, it's a monthly year. So we'll be doing today the Asaji Sutta, that is SD 42.8. Now the name Asaji, I'm sure is quite familiar to many of you. It is the name of the fifth or the last of the group of five monks who first listened to the Buddha. So let us spend a bit of time just to be familiar with this name and see who is this Asaji of this sutta. Many names in the Buddhist texts are quite common. You find lots of individuals have the same name. So Asaji is one of those names. We will see that there are at least probably three people with this name. Two good monks, one is a bad monk. So the first person, of course, is one of the five monks. And then there is this Asaji of this sutta, who's probably a different Asaji. And then there is another Asaji who is a companion of someone called Punabhasutta, who break the Vinaya rules, and the Buddha had to kind of like advise them and also introduce the rules to make sure the monks are disciplined. So now let's look at the Asaji of the five monks. The names of those monks are written on the board. As you know, the five monks, they are mentioned in the Dhammacakka Pavattana Sutta, the discourse on the turning of the wheel of truth. S5611. And the first of the five months, of course, is Kondanya. He's also the first arhat. And then you have Wappa, Babiya, and then you have Mahanama and Asaji. Asaji is probably the youngest of them. Now, how did these five monks come to form a group and to follow the Buddha? But it goes back right to the birth of the Bodhisattva himself, when Charles Siddhartha was born. You remember the story when his father, the king, according to the traditional story anyway, the king Suddhodana, according to the custom of those days, invited 108 Brahmins to see the future of this child. It's not a Buddhist practice, but it's a customary among the royal families or the ruling families of those days. So of these 108 Brahmins, 8 of them are soothsayers. That is, they're able to see the future according to the belief of those days. And according to the story, after examining this child, Siddhartha, 7 of them put up 2 fingers and said, well, this child will either be a great king or he will become a great teacher. Okay? And then from there, the story grew, became more complicated. You have the ideas of the 32 marks, the idea of the great man. And so the story developed to be like, if this child stays at home, he will be a great king. Like Alexander the Great. In fact, in a sense, you might say the idea of the great man could be very closely related to Alexander's campaign. Okay? Of course, it was after the Buddha's time, and the story developed within a century or so after the Buddha's time. And if this child were to leave home, he would become a great teacher. Okay? So this is a kind of a Buddhist story. And now 7 of them put up 2 fingers, but one who is the youngest, and that's Kondanya, he put up only 1 finger. And he says he's very sure that this child will leave home. So this is, according to one version, probably from the Jataka Nidana. And so since then, he has been following the career of this young prince, right? So watching him all the way. And he's practicing himself or his own whatever he knows of religion. And when Siddhartha leaves home around 28 years old, of course he was very excited, was very happy. Right? He says, it's the Eureka moment. He says, well, that's it, it's the time has come. So he goes around looking for his other seven, seven colleagues. They're all very old by then. Right? So you got to imagine Kundanya, who was a young Brahmin at the Buddha's birth. So you got to add like 28 years to that age. Right? So many of them died, just a few left living. And even then, they're not too keen to follow him, but I think one or two followed him. So probably after about 5 months, maybe one or two others are also from those days, they're very old. And the sons of some of those Brahmins who joined them, so probably Asaji is the youngest of them, is one of those sons of the 7 Brahmins. So that detail need to be researched, but roughly that's how the 5 monks got together. So only 5 of them decided to follow the Buddha, or follow the Bodhisattva rather, during his quest period, struggling, practicing all the dukkha kiriya, the self-mortification and so on. Of course, this was after the meeting with the teachers, if you remember the Buddha's life. After the renunciation, the Bodhisattva first went to see 2 teachers to learn meditation. And after learning whatever they have to teach, he found that they still have not found the answer. That's when he decided to try the next logical thing. Whatever the people in those days were practicing, the most extreme of those practices, self-torture, that again didn't work. So finally he found the middle way. But when he found the middle way, when he decided that the right way to awakening is not to torture your body, at the same time not to indulge your mind. Middle way, body and mind must be balanced, helping each other. So he did something very simple, very natural, to take some food. And the 5 monks were kind of shocked and disappointed at him, thinking that he was indulging in something luxurious. So here, of course, the stories are very meaningful, very inspiring. It means how far are we willing to go on our search and quest despite challenges? Sometimes you may get together people and you say, okay, we want to start a new Buddhist group, we're going to study the Buddha's teaching as he taught it, the story of the Buddha and so on. People say, yeah, good, they join together. Then after that, you find many of them may not agree with you, or they might give up, But do you give up? So we don't. If we believe something is true, something is good, we continue doing it. So despite the fact that the 5 monks left the Buddha, or left the Bodhisattva, he continued. He struggled alone, and he became enlightened under the Bodhi tree. Then again, after that, he looked around to see who could he teach first. Of course, the first people he thought about were the 2 first teachers that he went to. That is Alara Kalana and Uddaka Ramaputra. Alara already passed away a week ago, and then the Uddaka passed away just the night before. So somehow the karma is just not there to directly learn from the Buddha. So next he thought of the 5 monks who are at the time living in the deer park in Isipatana. So he went to see them, and that occasion is recorded in the Dhammacakkappavattana Sutta. So the introduction here gives you some details about how the 5 monks awakened gradually. Okay, as we know, Kondanya was the first to attain the Dhamma eye, to become stream winner, and then the others one by one. Now the details are given here, so you can read it up yourself, because I'm going to go straight to the sutta. So as I mentioned here, if you look at the start of the sutta, you give you a clue as to who the Kasaji is. So page 45, the Asaji Discourse S32.88. At one time, the Blessed One was staying in the squirrels' feeding ground in the bamboo grove outside Rajagaha. Okay. This very first line gives us a clue as to who Asaji is, or rather, we might say, who Asaji is not. Let me explain, right? Now, the location of the sutta can be very helpful, definitely in this case. The Buddha was staying in the bamboo grove. Now, we all know the bamboo grove was given by King Bimbisara, and that was during the second year of the ministry. And that's the first clue, okay? So this, in other words, the background to this story couldn't be the very first year. So it's definitely not the Dhammacakkappawattana Sutta Asaji, okay? We will know that later, with a few more clues as we read through, okay? So that's the first thing, first possible clue, okay? Now, in the next section, we are told that Asaji is sick, all right? And he asks for the Buddha, to see the Buddha, but he feels he might die, he must take leave of the Buddha. So this is interesting, even though they know they're going to die, they're not afraid to die, and they take leave of the teacher. Okay, so it's a kind of very noble way to go. Okay, let's look at how this happens. Section 2. Now at that time, the Venerable Asaji was dwelling in Kassappa's park, in pain, grievously ill. Now, again, Kassappa's park, this seems to be the only place this park is mentioned. It's said to be constructed, or rather taken care of by a city or this rich man called Kassapa, and nothing else is being mentioned about it. Okay? So he was sick, in pain, grievously ill. Then the Venerable Asaji addressed his attendants. Come, Avuso, brothers, approach the Blessed One, pay homage to him in my name with your head at his feet, and say, Bhante, the monk Asaji is sick, suffering, gravely ill. He pays homage to the Blessed One with his head at his feet. Then say, it will be good, Bhante, if the Blessed One would visit the monk Asaji out of compassion. So that's the instruction that Asaji gives to his possibly lay workers or maybe other junior monks. So here, notice how the sentence is laid out. This is it's given in the first person. This is to remind, to help the monks how they should conduct themselves in terms of communication, communicating with a senior monk. Right? All right. So the attendants say yes, I also. Now, if they say yes, I also, they're probably also monks. Okay. So they go to see the Buddha and bring the same message to the Buddha. Okay. Then we come to section 6. Then the Blessed One, having dressed himself and taking robe and bowl, visited the Venerable Asaji. Now this, of course, probably in the morning. Then the Venerable Asaji saw the Blessed One coming in the distance and stirred on his bed. So he was going to get up, although he was sick. And here we see the Buddha's great compassion. Then the Blessed One said this to him, enough now, or it's all right, okay? Asaji, do not stir on your bed. In other words, do not get up. There are these seats spread and ready. I will sit down there. The Blessed One then sat down on the spread seat. Seated thus, the Blessed One said this to the Venerable Asaji. I hope you are bearing it, Asaji. I hope you are getting better and your pains are abating, not rising, that the abating is evident, not the arising. Okay, this is short phrase. Basically, we say, how are you feeling? Okay? And then, instead of saying, I'm okay, this Asaji just explains how he feels. Section 10. Bhante, I cannot bear it. I'm not getting better and my pains are not abating, but rising. They are rising is evident, not they are abating. Right? So he's very sick. Right? So here we have an example how the Buddha attends to a sick man. Then the Buddha continues and says, I hope then, Asaji, that you are not troubled by remorse and regret. Why did the Buddha ask this? So now, this is bedside counseling, okay? If this man were to die, the Buddha wants to make sure that his mind is clear, that he passes away happily, okay? But it's much more than that, as we'll see, because the story ends happily, actually, okay? That he becomes awakened after that. So here, then 11, right? It says, the question continues, indeed, Bhante, I have a lot of remorse and regret. So Buddha says, are you troubled by any remorse or regret? Anything troubling you? And then Master says, yes, I do have. Then Buddha asks, okay, what is it that is troubling you? Look at 12. I hope, Asaji, that you have nothing for which to reproach yourself in regard to moral virtue. I hope it's not considering precepts of moral virtue. And Asaji says, not so. Okay? It's nothing to do with the precepts. Right? Then 13. Then Asaji, if you have nothing for which to reproach yourself in regard to moral virtue, why are you troubled by remorse and regret? Right? So if you're not troubled by, say, because you thought you've broken the precept, or you're not sure about the precept, how is it that you're still troubled? Now again here, we have what is it that we should think about? We should think about the three trainings. Sila, Samadhi, Panya, right? Sila is moral virtue, so the Buddha asks, are you troubled about moral virtue? First training, okay? And Asuji says no, right? So the sutta will show you that he's troubled by the second training, right? Okay, that's kind of jumping the gun a bit. Let's see. What does he say? 13.2. You notice we have a heading there called Asaji's inverted commas failure. Inverted commas means it's not really a failure, but he thinks it's a failure. So he says, Asaji tells the Buddha, formerly, Bhante, when I was ill, I would dwell stealing the body's formation, but now I am unable to attain samadhi. Bhante, I am unable to attain samadhi. It occurred to me, now let us not fail. Alright, so this is a very important story for meditators. Okay? Now, from this, here's another clue to show that it is unlikely Asaji is an arhat. Because if he's an arhat, he wouldn't talk like this. He wouldn't say, I failed to attain samadhi or jhana. Right? But here he's complaining to the Buddha. He says, I feel bad because I'm unable to get samadhi or jhana. Samadhi is a broad term for mental concentration. Okay? You might say including jhana. What does the Buddha say? 14. Asaji, those ascetics and Brahmins who regard samadhi as their essence, samadhi as their recluseship, they did not attain samadhi, thinking thus, now let us not fail. Okay, this is a very important sentence. Okay? The Buddha is saying, meditators don't talk like that. We never say we are unable to meditate. No such thing. Okay? So sometimes you hear experienced, seasoned meditation teachers tell you, don't worry about your meditation, just do what you can. No such thing as failure. This is the Locus Classicus. This is one of the sources you can quote, right? There is another sutta. You can see the footnote 24 there, right? In footnote 24 says, see especially Eka Dasaka Chetana Karaniya Sutta, A 11.2. And there's one more, Dasaka Chetana Karaniya, and so on. So the first sutta is from the book of 11s, the 11 points there. The second sutta is 10 points from the book of 10s and Anguttara. This sutta, Chetana Karaniya, it means there's no need of intention. In meditation, We don't plan anything. We don't say, I'm going to get this, I'm going to get that. You just meditate. Free your mind of thoughts. That's how we do it. And if you keep the precepts well, it's even easier to meditate. Right? So that's the principle used here that the Buddha is teaching. See? So you see, notice how tricky sometimes the suttas can be. If you do not practice meditation, if you do not practice Buddhism, you just think, oh, this is what the Buddha said, that's all. You do not know the depth of the meaning of what the Buddha is trying to say. And the connection with other suttas. It is to do with meditation. Basically, the Buddha says, that's not the way to think. So this shows Asaji is quite, in a certain sense, quite new to meditation. Because he feels bad about the fact he could not get samadhi, which true meditators won't be bothered with, right? At least this is the message the sutta wants to convey to us today. Now, so the first part, the narrative ends there, the interview with Asaji. Then the closing section from here onwards, 15, right to the end, the Buddha gives his instruction, not right to the end, sorry, right to probably section 21.2. It's very close to the Anattana Sutta. And then there is a conclusion, which is, so this makes the sutta unique. Okay? So this is how the Buddha, in a sense, heals Asaji. He teaches Asaji the three characteristics in connection with the five aggregates. Now, I suspect Asaji already know these things. We are today, many of us know what these things. You come to Sutta class, by now you know what these things are. So, you might even read through it and say, hey, I know all this stuff, alright? But we're not awakened. Okay? So the difference is that it's not really understanding all this teaching academically, because there are lots of books, thick volumes have been written on all these topics. There are single volumes, single works, monographs on the five aggregates, for example. But I don't think the writer, that scholar or academician is awakened. I don't know. Anyway, this teaching is given in such a way, it is a reflection. It is a kind of meditation, sutta meditation, if you like. Again, we're talking about the Buddha saying these words. So you've got to imagine his voice. How should I put it? Imagine the most beautiful voice you can get on the mass media in Singapore. Someone you listen to the news, right? It used to be Patrick Till, but it's quite old. I don't know if his voice is still good or not. He's got this very wonderful, resonant voice. Okay, in fact, a long time ago, I remember there was this monk I knew who asked him to actually speak the Buddha's voice. Okay, so basically, the Buddha's voice is really beautiful, soothing, resonant. If you listen to the voice alone, you feel so healing. It's like a child listening to the mother's voice or the father's voice. So, whatever the Buddha says, you find these teachings are repeated many times in other suttas. So what is the sutta telling us here? This is the part that you read, you tape, or you get someone to read it during puja and you calmly listen. You just listen, you let it sink in. Now we know as a fact, we accept as a fact, body and mind are impermanent. We say, yeah, okay. But we have not internalized it yet. We have not really seen it really happening out there. It's like you got this wonderful new computer. Wow, it works really well. You know how it works. You're very comfortable with it. But that's all we know. If something goes wrong, we don't know how to repair it. But there is this technician who knows the inside of the computer, you know what's going on, how it works, and so on, right? So you can say that the arhat is one who not only knows how to use the computer, he knows total workings of the computer, how to repair it and so on, something like that, right? So we have to see these three characteristics actually working inside us, body and mind. Okay, here, body and mind in terms of the 5 aggregates. Okay, here the 5 aggregates form, of course, the body. The 5 aggregates focus more on the mind and mental aspects: feeling, perception, formation, consciousness. So we have to watch the impermanence of all these events that we are, and how this, because of these events, the body, feelings and so on are impermanent, they're also unsatisfactory. And with this process of changing, there is no essence, no self in it. So we go on reflecting it. In fact, you don't have to go too far. As busy lay people, you just reflect on the impermanence of this process again and again. Just go on reflecting on this. One day it will just click. Or maybe it has already clicked. You're just not aware of it yet. Then you look back and say, oh, actually, I have totally experienced this impermanence. Then you are a stream winner. Okay? So it's nothing difficult really. It's just a matter of living the spiritual life, watching the true nature of existence in your body and mind. You don't have to look at things out there, you look at things within you. What you see within you is reflected outside you, not the other way around. Okay? I mean, you can say things outside you are reflected inside you, but it's more difficult to observe them that way. Okay? So this is a reflection that the Buddha is giving to Asaji. Notice the Buddha didn't tell Asaji like a modern lecturer would say, go and read this book, this chapter, that chapter, that's all. So the Buddha didn't say, go and look up the Dhammacakkappavattana Sutta, or go and look up the Anattalakkana Sutta. No, the Buddha goes through the whole sutta again with Asaji. So this is a very important part of the sutta which a lot of people miss. They think suttas are like newspapers. You just read the news and you throw it away. Now, it's good news, yeah, the sutta is good news, but it's more than just news. It is a manual, operations manual, a very complicated computer called yourself. Okay? So occasionally, very often in fact, you have to look up the way the program is written and so on in order to make this computer work properly. Right? So the sutta is like this program we need to go back into, look at. That's one way. Another way is the sutta is like music. Now music, you don't just say, okay, now imagine the 5th symphony. You can try. Some people actually can hear the music, but that's all. After that, you forget. You actually play it again. Maybe a symphony is too big and you did the whole orchestra, maybe some other pieces. You need to play the whole piece, and you got to get involved when you play, and you listen, and you get into this wonderful, peaceful state. So the suttas are like music in that sense. We listen, our whole being loses itself in that sutta, the sutta becomes us, and we begin to experience, as it were, all the teaching. The teaching becomes reality. It's no more academic theory. It is direct experience. But direct experience alone will not bring you awakening. It's direct experience is still experience. You have to realize. So that's the next stage. Right? We have theory, practice, realization. Right? Theory, practice, realization. So then realize it. Then the Dharma is there in your head, so to speak, speaking to you all the time. So the moment you look at it, you know what it is already. That's the awakened part. So let's quickly look at what this teaching the Buddha gives to Asaji. 15. Now what do you think, Asaji? Is form permanent or impermanent? Okay, look at the style. This is the so-called Socratic style, right? Question answer. This sentence means Asaji already knows the answer, but he has forgotten it, or it's not there on the conscious level. It's deep down in his consciousness. So what the Buddha is doing, the Buddha is raising this Dharma from the depth of consciousness to the level of awareness. So Asaji replies and says, impermanent Bhante. Is what is impermanent unsatisfactory or satisfactory? Unsatisfactory, Bhante. Is what is impermanent, unsatisfactory and subject to change, fit to be regarded as this is mine, this I am, this is myself? No, Bhante. Right? So this is the key passage, as I always say. You must examine this first passage carefully, and then the rest will come in very nicely. This is the template, okay? This on page 46, section 15. Any questions on this first part here, this section 15? So form has to be impermanent. Why? Because form is made up of the four elements. One way of looking at it is the four elements. The four elements all the time changing, unstable. Or we can look at form as the five physical senses, which are also impermanent, changing all the time. And whatever is changing can never satisfy us by the very fact that they change. And because they are impermanent and they change, there is no essence. We cannot at any point put our finger there and say that's it. There is no it. It is just a grammatical construct we use to communicate. It's very interesting. You notice the greatest hindrance, or one of the greatest hindrances to our awakening is language itself. Because our language, in a sense, embodies, trying to give us the idea that things are fixed. I am talking to you, as if the I and the you are fixed things, changing all the time. Right? We're not talking about just we change our dresses or hairstyle. Our whole being changes over time. Okay? So you can reflect on this wonderful truth, and you find that nothing else will make you happy. Right? This truth is so clear. Understanding this truth makes you happy. And this is, in a sense, irony of it, Although we talk of impermanence, we talk of change, we talk of non-self, the result is not sadness, the result actually is happiness. Because you know the truth, you feel happy. You are happy because you understand things as they are. You know why there is pain. You know why things don't work out well. That's the world. But you are happy despite the world. Isn't it wonderful? Wonderful way of living? Alright, then you find the other teachings. The headings are very clear. Feeling, perception, formation, consciousness, we all know that. So let us now read this as a reflection for ourselves. Okay, section 16. And how shall we read it? Shall we read it responsively or read it together? I think responsive is nicer. I will read the first line, you read the answer, okay? Now what do you think, Asaji? Is feeling permanent or impermanent?
Impermanent, Bhante.
Is what is impermanent unsatisfactory or satisfactory?
Unsatisfactory, Bhante.
Is what is impermanent, unsatisfactory and subject to change, fit to be regarded as this is mine, this I am, this is myself?
No, Bhante.
Now what do you think, Asaji? Is perception permanent or impermanent?
Impermanent, Bhante.
Is what is impermanent unsatisfactory or satisfactory?
Unsatisfactory, Bhante.
Is what is impermanent, unsatisfactory and subject to change, fit to be regarded thus, this is mine, this I am, this is myself?
No, Bhante.
Now what do you think, Asaji? Are formations permanent or impermanent?
Impermanent, Bhante.
Is what is impermanent unsatisfactory or satisfactory?
Unsatisfactory, Bhante.
Is what is impermanent, unsatisfactory and subject to change, fit to be regarded thus, this is mine, this I am, this is myself?
No, Bhante.
Now what do you think, Asaji? Is consciousness permanent or impermanent?
Impermanent, Bhante.
Is what is impermanent, unsatisfactory or satisfactory?
Unsatisfactory, Bhante.
Is what is impermanent, unsatisfactory and subject to change, fit to be regarded as this is mine, this I am, this is myself?
No, Bhante.
Right. Okay, so you imagine the Buddha counseling Asaji, there are no notes being used. It's a direct living communication. Okay, so Asaji is responding from his own understanding. His understanding is raised from the level of memory, which is kind of forgotten for a while, to the conscious level. So imagine what kind of impression would Asaji get. He's being told again and again, you cannot say this is mine, this I am, this is myself, right? So this is the introduction. Now in the next section we have you might say, the truth aspect of it. Very similar to this list of five aggregates, but this time the phrasing is different. Okay, let's look at this again. I'll just quickly go through number one again, just so that you are familiar with what's going on here. Look at 20. Therefore, Asaji, any kind of form. So here what Buddha does is reminding Asaji to build from the previous understanding to the next section. So how do we see form then? Any kind of form, whether past, future or present, internal or external, gross or subtle, inferior or superior, far or near, all forms should be seen as they really are with the right wisdom thus. This is not mine, this I am not, this is not myself. Okay? So this is the key teaching. This is not mine, this I am not, this is not myself. So imagine, now Asaji is applying this understanding to his own body, the pain, his bodily pain, mental dissatisfaction, he's not happy with himself, not able to meditate. So he said, this is not mine. I'm not going to be troubled by this. So it's letting go of those thoughts. They're just thoughts. So he says, not mine. If you have anger, you say, not mine. Do it next time, you'll see how it works. After that, you find the anger doesn't trouble you so much, half gone. And then anger that's half gone is as good as fully gone because it's weakened. Okay? So, the difficult part is the description of the totality formula. Okay? The Buddha is saying any kind of form. First, in terms of time, past, present, future. It's the same. It's impermanent, unsatisfactory, non-self. Then internal or external. One way of understanding this is internal means yourself, external means in others. Another way of understanding this is internal can mean the physical senses, external physical senses, internal is the mind, the process going in the mind. On the other hand, in the sutta explanation is gross or subtle, refers to just that. Gross is your physical senses, experience of your physical senses, subtle experience of your mind. They're all impermanent. In other words, whether form is experienced physically as four elements, or form is experienced as a mental vision, they're all impermanent. Inferior or superior refers to meditation. Okay? Inferior means normal meditation, superior means jhana meditation, deeper level. They are also impermanent. Far or near is in terms of space. Whether it is here, another country, in this universe, or some other universe, form is still the same. In a sense, the Buddha is referring to quantum physics, if you like. He is saying that matter is changing all the time wherever it is. Okay? Einstein probably would be able to give quite a good discourse on this sutta from a relativity point of view. Okay? Impermanence. Right? So if you study quantum physics, probably you might understand sutta more easily than those who have not studied science. No? It doesn't mean you might be awakening. No? You got to go into meditation. In a peaceful state of mind. Okay, so any questions on this template 20 brackets 1? Clear? Understandable, no? So basically the Buddha is saying any kind of form in terms of space or time, they all bear the same characteristic. And you should regard this form, this is not mine, this I am not, this is not myself. Okay? I don't own this, it is not mine. I am not this, you don't identify with it. And this is not myself, right? You have no way to connect yourself with it. So this is the second part, right? Here again, let us read this together, section 2. Okay? Any kind of feeling whatsoever, whether past, future or present, internal or external, gross or subtle, inferior or superior, far or near, all feelings should be seen as they really are, with right wisdom thus, this is not mine, this I am not, this is not myself. Any kind of perception whatsoever, whether past, future or present, internal or external, gross or subtle, inferior or superior, far or near, all perceptions should be seen as they really are, with right wisdom thus, this is not mine, this I am not, this is not myself. Any kind of formations whatsoever, whether past, future or present, internal or external, gross or subtle, inferior or superior, far or near, all formations should be seen as they really are, with right wisdom thus, this is not mine, this I am not, this is not myself. Any kind of consciousness whatsoever, whether past, future or present, internal or gross or subtle, inferior or superior, far or near, all consciousnesses should be seen as they really are, with right wisdom thus, this is not mine, this I am not, this is not myself. Notice for us who are not awakened, when we repeat this, we become more familiar on the word level. So the next time you hear a talk, it could be by anyone, then you say, oh, this is familiar. Then you are able to connect. And then something happens. Something happens. Okay? Another way of looking at this understanding is like you have a lightning conductor. You hold up this lightning conductor. Whenever there is a storm, the electrical charge will hit the conductor and go straight down safely into the ground. Okay? It doesn't hurt you. Okay? Otherwise, it's terrible. Okay? So you are safe in that sense with the Dharma. The Dharma protects you in that way. Now comes the third part, and this is teachings for renunciants, for monks or those who want to attain high level non-return arhat. Okay? Revulsion towards the five aggregates. The Buddha is taking Asaji a little deeper, since he's a monk. 21. Seeing thus Asaji, the learned noble disciple, is revulsed, disenchanted, disillusioned with form, is revulsed with feeling, is revulsed with perception, is revulsed with formations, is revulsed with consciousness. Okay? Now, revulsion is a very powerful word. It has no hatred in it. It is a sense of disgust in the sense that you know what it is, you don't have anything to do with it. Okay? It is as simple as fire. You put your hand into the fire, you get burnt, and you quickly pull it out. You don't hate the fire, you don't feel bad about the fire, you just know that's the way fire burns. And you're not going to put your hand in again. Just this meaning of revulsed. You will never do it, not for anything. Because it's stupid, it's painful, right? There are some scholars, even monks, who feel, wow, this revulsed, such a powerful word, And then they kind of complain to some of these meditation monks and Chancha. They say, we can't use this word. It's such a powerful word. What if our readers get shocked by such words? Revulse. Meditation teachers have a way of talking. They don't worry about how the world think about it, because the truth is the truth. So it says something like, I mean, it says shit is shit, it smells bad. That's his answer. He said, you talk nice things about shit, it's still smelly. So, and the monks understood, alright? So, the meaning is pain. No matter how nicely you put it, it's still pain. In fact, if you put it too nicely, it's worse, Imagine you're suffering, you've lost something important to you. You go to this person and you're feeling so bad, you're trying to tell this person how painful it is to you, and all this person says is, oh, it's alright. How would you feel? It's not alright, isn't it? I mean, it'd be better for this person to say, I see that it's not alright. I think you'll feel better than to say it's alright. So be very careful. Never use the word it's alright. Okay? It's not alright. It's all wrong, actually. So when you listen to someone suffering, listen. Sometimes just listening without saying a word also helps. Deep listening, eye contact. Okay? So we cannot, how shall we say, downside suffering. We cannot sweeten it. Suffering is suffering. So here, it's part of a spiritual exercise. Spiritual exercise is a very important term. In other words, you are experiencing the path of the Buddha's awakening. So here, when the Buddha is telling Asaji, all these things that you have thus far reflected on, doesn't it make you feel revolves towards the body and the mind, so much so that you could have anything to do with it? The pain and so on, you could have let it go. Okay? So this is, in a sense, some kind of aversion therapy, okay, for Asaji. Okay? It might not work for everybody. For example, the Buddha very often teaches loving kindness to the Brahmins. So we do have different methods. So don't think it's the only method. Okay, this is for those who are ready. Okay, with people with a lot of desire, aversion therapy helps. Those who are so religious and their minds there, if they meet the gurus, then they are easy meat for the gurus, because the Buddha teaches them loving kindness to deal with their inner self. Okay? Then the Buddha continues how revulsion works. Next section. Now comes the liberation actually. Through revulsion, he becomes dispassionate. Through dispassion, his mind is freed. When it is freed, there is the knowledge freed. Now this one is very difficult to translate, so I decided just one word on freed. If you look at 32, Vimutta means liberated. There's no subject or object. Liberated. Okay? Liberated, just like that. What is liberated? Neither mind nor body, just liberated. Okay? He understands. Okay, this is what's called review knowledge. That means he looks back and realizes he's already awakened. Destroyed his birth, the holy life has been lived. What needs to be done has been done. There is no more of this state of being. This is the arhat pericope. This is the stock passage showing that this person has become an arhat. But here the Buddha is only teaching him. Okay? So he's going to, but it is a hint here, that means he's going to be awakened. He's not yet an arhat, but he's going to be. Look at 21.2. Through revulsion, it becomes dispassionate. So in other words, once you realize, oh, the body is like this, the mind is like this, you say, that's it, I'm not going to have anything to do with it. So passion is gone. You see it, you know what it is, you keep your distance. And by keeping your distance, you are finally free. You are no more caught up with the idea, my body is aching, or I like this, I like that. Okay? And then the knowledge arises to you, free. Or if you like, you can say, I'm free. Okay? Just for the sake of grammatical convenience. So notice here, the nature of awakening. In other words, the moment of awakening, the person does not know it. Okay? Now, this sentence is incomplete. So if you go away when I've said this, you're doing the wrong view. Alright? So the moment the person awakens, whether it's a Srimana or arhat, he does not know it. He does not know it because the five senses at that moment are at deep rest, total rest. So he doesn't know what's going on. It's just like when you take food, you're eating, and you're already full, but you don't know it. You notice that. Usually we only stop when we are over full. The Buddha tells us, restraint in food means to stop eating just before you feel full. You know how difficult that is? I mean, what the Buddha is saying before you know you're full, so you have to guess and say, okay, I think I'm full, I got to stop. So there must be a space. So you got to roughly look at your food and then feel yourself. Then after a while, you actually feel the fullness. You notice that? You don't at once feel it. So awakening also like that. That when the moment comes, it's a feeling. You are experiencing this. It's also very joyful. Okay? So then later on, you look back and say, oh yeah, I got it. It's just like passing an exam also. You write all your answers, and then you submit your paper, and then the examiner corrects it, and then it pastes down on the wall. The question now is, at which exact point did you pass the exam? Difficult to answer. Of course, you can say when you look at the results on the wall, but that's actually review knowledge. It's already old news, you know what I mean? When you see the results on the wall. So you are looking back, that's why it's called review knowledge. So in our meditation, we also have review. When you meditate, at the end of the meditation, you come out of it, then you review your practice. You look back to see how you have done. So that helps for you to improve your meditation also. So this is review knowledge on a simpler level of meditation. Alright? So that is why the heading that says Liberation, the Arhat's Review Knowledge. So any questions on this?
Yeah. I have a problem with the idea of revulsion of disenchantment because both are negative feeling. So
okay. It's just a word.
I'm saying because if you are revulsed or it's a dislike or disenchanted is all dislike. Again, it's a speed.
I got it here. Yeah. Okay, a lot of people have this issue because you are heavy on the grammar side, on the word side. Try to just say, first of all, it's just a word that we cannot find, and there's no exact word for it in English. So it's the closest you can get, right? But you must really find this word in your mind. Remember, words are how you use it, not how the dictionary defines it, The dictionary always goes out of date, okay? So you tell yourself, it's got no hatred in it. It's a sense of, you don't want to be shocked again. You see this, I know fire is like this, or I know this smelly poo is like that, I'm not going to have anything to do with it. So keep that in mind. Do not get into this discursive state, then you lose the essence. This is a direct experience of thing. Fire burns our hand, isn't that terrible? How do you describe that? What's the best word for it? There's no best word. The closest probably is revulsive, it's so painful, we don't want to do it again. Yes, this is a problem. There's another monk there's an article I wrote on this word, Nibbida. There's this monk, he came up with some old English words, He said maybe we should use that. So there's a big discussion there. Okay, I know your problem, so maybe you should read that article first. Just look at the rest and then we come back to this point of revulsion, okay? After this Asaji is awakened, then there is what's called the Arhat's constant abiding, how he conducts himself in a daily basis. In other words, how he responds to the three kinds of feeling: present, painful, neutral.
Is he enlightened at this point?
No, not yet. This is the Buddha's instruction. These are all the Buddha's instructions. Right to the end, okay? We're not told when he becomes enlightened, but from the drift of the sutta, we can surmise that after this, Asaji would meditate and awaken. Okay? Because in a sense, the Buddha probably knew that he's already on that level. there is a possibility, we can also say, but it's unlikely, that this is Asaji, who is the arhat from the 5 months, and he's going through this pain. Possible, but it's unlikely, because as I said, an arhat wouldn't think the way this is taught, and the teaching style here is to somehow not an arhat. Now, these are issues we need to think about, the translators to think about, and probably you might like to think about too. On the other hand, those are historical problems, which not really helpful to us in terms of awakening. Important thing is we've got to find out what is the sutta trying to teach us. Okay, now comes 32. He here, of course, is this arhat. Right? If he feels a pleasant feeling, he understands it is impermanent. He understands it is not grasped at or coveted, desired. He understands it is not delighted in. If he feels a painful feeling, he understands it is impermanent. He understands it is not grasped at. He understands it is not delighted in. If he feels a neutral feeling, he understands it is impermanent. He understands it is not grasped at. He understands it is not delighted in. Right? So notice these are 3 feelings: pleasant, painful, neutral. Whether pleasant or unpleasant, he regards it as impermanent. Even though neutral feeling, in other words, neither pleasant nor painful, he also says it's impermanent. This third one is difficult to notice because it can only be known by the absence of pleasant and unpleasant. Now comes 33. If he feels a pleasant feeling, he feels detached regarding it. There you are, now the word detached is used. Okay? If he feels a painful feeling, he feels detached regarding it. If he feels a neutral feeling, he feels detached regarding it. Again here, remember, this is an arahat's mind. So the arahat will see the pain, okay, it says that's pain. He observes it, that's it. The closest we can experience this, the closest I could experience it was when I was with the dentist. How painful that the dentist can make you feel, right? So I'm going through the worst of the dental treatments now, root canal treatment. So the dentist will drill and so on. But then pulling, I don't know whether that's more painful or pulling a tooth is more painful. But anyway, both are painful. So you imagine that pain, right? Sometimes you feel it's already started, but actually not, okay? So when the pain actually happens, you just tell yourself, okay, that's what it is. I'm not going to think anymore, right? So you feel the pain, right? Okay, that's the pain. It's not so bad, but you still feel painful. But the worst thing like that is you feel it. That's what we don't want. So we just say it's just pain. You tell yourself just pain, and don't think about it. Normally people who feel it will say, oh dear, is he or she going to put the needle in now? Is he going to pull it out? Are the pincers coming? You start thinking of that, that's where the pain comes. You see, so much of the pain is imagined. Imagine means in the mind. Right? So if you take it as it is, it's not so bad. Alright? Okay, so that's meaning of detached. That's all it is. We are adults now. If we do knock our head against a window or something, you just say, wow, that's bad. That's it, If you're a child, you cry and you complain, you see. So that's another way of reflecting how pain works on us. Okay, now the Buddha continues, 23. Okay, 23. Whether the feeling is pleasant, painful or neutral, he feels detached regarding it. Now comes kind of summary. When he feels a body-bounded feeling, he understands, I feel a body-bounded feeling. When he feels a life-bounded feeling, he understands, I feel a life-bounded feeling. Okay. So, okay, there's a F is missing there. So here it is again arhat language. In simple terms, you look at the footnote, body-bounded feeling simply means the feeling arising from your 5 physical senses. Life-bounded feeling arising with your mind, your consciousness, thoughts, ideas. Okay? So, in simple terms, it means in the arhat knows it's a feeling arising from one of the 5 senses or feeling arising from the mind. He's able to notice that. So imagine his mind is so sharp, very clear, very focused, in other words. All these things happening to us right now, but we don't notice them, but the arhat notices them. He understands with the breaking up of the body following the ending of life, all that is felt and not delighted in will be cooled or quenched right there. Right? So in other words, living in this way, because the arhat, once it passes away, all these processes also die out. No more continuing of this. Then the Buddha closes the sutta with a parable of the oil lamp. Asaji, just as an oil lamp were to burn dependent on oil and the wick, but with the exhaustion of the oil or the wick, it would be extinguished through lack of fuel. Even so, Asaji, when a monk feels a body-bound feeling, he understands, I feel a body-bound feeling, body-bounded feeling of it. When he feels a life-bounded feeling, he understands, I feel a life-bounded feeling. He understands with the breaking up of the body following the ending of life. All that is felt, not delighted in, will be cool right here. Okay? So, the arhat is able to see clearly what's going on in his mind, but once life ends, the process does not continue anymore. Okay? So here the Buddha is talking about the mind of an arhat. So it can be quite tricky for lay people, especially when not awakened. We might feel quite unhappy with certain words, and but as I said, if we understand the truth of the Dharma, we try not to put too many grammatical ideas into it and try to just feel what the sutta is trying to say. What's the Buddha talking about? Maybe you may have your own words. Use your own words. Okay, you may disagree with the translator. The translator has to stick on to his translation anyway. But we have to keep on changing every time the audience comes. It's quite difficult for us to update the translation every time. But believe me, I take a lot of trouble to decide which word to use. And so, but I think I would rather be on the side of the meditators, the serious teachers who have good reason to say why this word will be more meaningful than some of the more pleasant words. Use the pleasant words you feel that helps you to understand Nibbida. Use whatever word you want to use, but always remember the Pali word is Nibbida. Don't forget, Nibbida. Okay? Then slowly your definition of Nibbida becomes clearer as you experience life more directly. Maybe we have not suffered enough. As our suffering deepens and we say, wow, now I understand what the Buddha is trying to say. And as you progress in the Dharma, your suffering becomes more subtle. It becomes something, how should I put it, stranger if you like. It's no more loss of this, loss of that. It's more like certain simple things make you feel, oh, why couldn't I do this better? And you talk about the Dharma, for example, and you begin to deal with those. Alright? So this is how we progress spiritually, understanding your inner growth. And from there, you let go of the idea of the past. And the more you let go, the higher you progress on the path to awakening. Okay, we have a bit of time for questions.
Point 2 talks about the painful feeling. It is not delighted in. But I thought the painful feeling nobody realizes it.
Oh, there are people who are psychologically, how should I say, maybe for some psychological reasons they enjoy pain. There are people who enjoy pain. You know, simple example, people like to worry, you know. And when everything is alright, they get even more worried. They say something's wrong. There's nothing wrong, something's wrong. You know, some people are like that. So this is a very tricky part of human behavior. Some kind of pain. I mean, for example, in the Buddha's time, you have those ascetics who torture themselves, you know, and they think, wow, this is great, you know. Like the dog ascetic, the cow ascetic, they're living such painful lives, you know. So there are people who do enjoy pain, but not for healthy reasons, obviously. But it's an interesting observation.
Yeah. It's very, but yeah. Second one, no H.
Oh yes.
H is extra.
So this asaji is not likely to be the one of the 5 disciples.
Yeah. My impression is this is a different asaji. Like I said, this is a historical problem. Even if we're not sure, it doesn't matter. You can say these are the possibilities. What's important is to understand the teaching given to us here.
So the famous Asaji, one of the 5, when did he become arhat?
Oh, on the teaching of the Anatta Lakkhana Sutta, the teaching of the discourse on the characteristic of non-self, all 5 of them.
Can you expand more on number 25, please?
Oh, 25. Okay, this oil lamp is a very famous, very ancient analogy. Okay, oil lamp burns on account of oil, that's the fuel, that's like karma, and you have the wick, that's like our body, and the flame is like our mind. So can you imagine that? All right?
See that again? The oil?
The wick, the wick is the body,
Yeah.
or it's physical, right? And the flame is burning, changing, that's our mind. Okay? And then the oil is our fuel, that is karma. Okay, that's one simple way of looking at it. So, the absence of any of this can end the process of burning the lamp. Usually the oil will get exhausted, right? Or maybe the wick burns itself out. That means physically one of our vital organs stop functioning, right? Or a wind may blow the flame out. That represents kind of what's called any kind of karma that may just the powerful karma that comes and blocks the other karmas.
So this is a description of awakening.
Here is used in terms of awakening. Here's a positive usage. The flame represents desire, the 3 fires: the fire of greed, fire of hate, fire of delusion. So, awakening is like when you extinguish the flame, it doesn't burn anymore. Then you're not troubled, you're not burnt up by the fire of greed, fire of hate, fire of delusion. So it's another application. Okay, so you have 2 applications here.
Yeah.
Yes?
How do we feel detached regarding a neutral feeling?
You see, people, in meditation, when you feel neither pleasant nor painful, you feel bored. A lot of people feel bored because there's no feeling, you know? They feel bored. Because they feel bored because they're doing nothing. If they say, okay, no pleasant feeling, no painful feeling, therefore neutral feeling, impermanent, okay? Then you will be bored because you're doing something, you see? That's one way of looking at it, right? Or you could just switch meditation anyway, because the mind is quite active, so you got to go back to another meditation.
What in daily life?
In daily life, that means it's not. Remember, in Pali it says, neither painful nor pleasant. Absence of 2. That's called. We use one word, neutral, right? But the Pali is more exact. So it's neither painful nor pleasant, right? So some people say my life is not exciting, meaning neither no suffering, no happiness. So they're brought to that. They want to do something dangerous, Right, something like that. So they feel very bored, but everything's impermanent. Any other? Yes?
In your analogy of the fuel blade, it's possible that fuel runs out, as you said.
Yeah,
But
of course.
if fuel represents karma, karma can never run out. Not possible.
Yeah, that's true. Here we got to limit the karma to this life, to one life. Okay, so okay, we can go further here. Just since you brought the matter, we can say the lamp, the holder, is this life. Okay, so in this life we have the karma working there. Analogies and parables, they have their limits, so we cannot go more than that. So we got to limit the karma in this life. Of course, karma, you can keep on adding fuel, Yeah. So you might say the oil runs out, so someone comes along, pour more oil, put a new wick, so that's rebirth. So you can extend the parable if you like. Any other discussion or questions? No, the structure of this sutta is quite well known, follows the structure of the Anatta Lakkhana Sutta, and this is something, if you want to reflect, you can reflect starting from section 15 to 19, that's one section, and then you go on into section 20, right? You can stop with section 19, try to understand this whole section 15 to 19 first. When you understand this very well, then you add section 20.
Can you explain a bit more about formation?
Okay, formation. Yeah, this is one of the most difficult of the 5 aggregates. Very often they have this plural, the ending with the R, sankhara. Usually sankhara will be used for the unawakened formations because they come in a bundle, so to speak. From the very word formation, you see the word form. We tend to form ideas from what we see, hear, smell, taste, touch, and think. We often see things which are not there, right? Take for example, I think this happened in Singapore many years ago. There was some kind of light formation on one of those glass walls in town, and then a Buddhist saw it and said, "Wow, look, that's Guan Yin," And the Catholics say, "Oh, that's Virgin Mary." Okay, so each of them have their own formations. The reality is just light, just light. So we tend to form ideas like that. That's why we have a bit of a problem here. See, even as Buddhists, we bow before images. Of course, we understand this image is like, a bust of Shakespeare, and say, "Oh, he's a great teacher." That it only works when you bow down. Your mind is involved. You say, "Okay, I bow to this great teacher. This is Dharma in gratitude." I bow to the teaching which I aspire to practice. I bow to the great saints of the past, as my example. Something like that. You reflect the essence of the three, what we recited today, the 3 jewels. That is meaningful. That means even without the image also, it will work, right? So Buddhism is amazing. It is so flexible, in that sense. But on the other hand, if you think, wow, this image itself, in itself, can do wonders for you, then you externalize the truth. It's no more real. Or worse, you come to the level where you have these little images that can protect you and all kinds of power, then you go a different way. You go into the magical, Brahmanical way. So, in other words, you have to, formation is how your mind creates this reality out there. Okay? So, for example, there's very interesting history of Buddhism. You find the Buddha passes away and the arhats sit very calmly because they know the Buddha is going to pass away anyway. In fact, when the Buddha passes away, Arhats, as you know, they're always happy. So they don't feel sad when the Buddha passes away because they know that's the truth. And the very fact that Buddha passes away proves the Buddha's teaching even more true. It doesn't show Buddha as a failure. But there are many people, intelligent teachers and monks maybe, who could not accept the Buddha's death. They say, wow, this is such a great teacher. You know, today you see when some famous teachers come along, you find that some devotees are overwhelmed, some even cry, and so lie flat on the ground, worship them. These are the really faith devotees, you know. And these are the kind of devotees, if they find a good teacher, that's okay. But these are the kind of devotees who actually create the guru complex. You get these really terrible, scandalous gurus, because they know religion makes people like that. They're gullible, they're naive, they like power figures. You know, this is going on a lot, and I've close friends who have been with all these cults, this Maharishi cult and so on, and the inner circle, you know. So they're really upset and pained by all these years. Their best time of their life they were spending serving like a slave to this guru, and now they really hate this thing. And they say, I don't have anything more to do with gurus, I only want the Dharma. And when they read the suttas which talk about all these fantastic stories, you know, they have problems. I don't think I can accept. This is like what my guru said last time. I said, okay, I won't give you any more of this sutta. You read more the Dharma sutta. It's just the Dharma. Don't read the stories. So they have a lot of healing to do, you know, because they've been so hurt by the way these gurus cheated them, so to speak. Right? So imagine, there was one case of this Mahayana monk who had been worshipping many Buddhas, has many of the saint, the Ganges, and this Bodhisattva, that Bodhisattva. And then he went overseas to study Buddhism. You know, you begin to study philosophy, nature of the mind and religion. He suddenly realized all these Buddhas are our own creation. He was so shocked, he gave up monkhood. He gave up. I don't know whether he gave up being a Buddhist or not. But I thought it was silly. He should have known all the way. Well, these are symbolic figures, you know. They represent qualities. We don't take them as one of those famous speakers like to say, those Buddha as real as you and I are real. I don't know whether you know the amazing naivety of this statement. Let me try to get the answer from you. If I tell you Amitabha, Vajrayana, Guru, and all these great Bodhisattvas are as real as you and I are real, what does it mean?
Is that what they said?
Yeah, it's recorded, you know.
Avalokiteshvara is as real as you.
No, he made a very sweeping statement. He said, all these Buddhas are as real as you and I are real. Don't doubt it. I mean, what's the problem here? Now, you and I are real. How real are we? We all die. Simple as that. We will die. So are you saying these Buddhas will die?
I think it depends on what you mean by that.
Yes.
Is it mental zeal?
Well, that's the point. He stops there, you see.
Did he mean
He stops there. He stops there. He wants you to accept this Buddha and Kuan Yin as you and I are real. Like I see you in front. And I told him, I said, you know, first year philosophy student will knock you down straight away. You know? So this is one of the worrying trends in Buddhism today. You know? That people just talk what they want without thinking what the implications are. You've got to really know some of this stuff before you talk about such things. But it's imaginative things already, which we not much talk about in the suttas. They're like the world of formations. So the Buddha says, stick to the real things before you. That's good enough. Once you go to philosophy, you get a lot of problems.
What do you stick to the real thing before?
Sorry?
What do you mean by stick to the real thing before?
This kind of sutta talks about formations, talk about the way the mind works, you know, rather than talk about imaginative beings. I mean, you have to start proving they exist. Someone says, how do you know they exist? Well, there goes the God problem, you know. So if you want to prove the way those kind of Buddhas exist or not, you will face the same problem as the God believers face. You've got to prove that same. You see the issues there now? So what I'm saying, if you take them as mental constructs to help you, for example, imagine compassion, so you be compassionate. That's different. It's a meditation. So originally that was the idea. And so the idea became concretized. Then you have a problem. Piece of news. You know that there is a very interesting group of, I don't know whether to call them Christians or not. I don't know if you've heard of them. They're called the Unitarian Universalists. Have you heard of them? Unitarian Universalists, UU. I happen to know some of them when I was in Berkeley. They are a very delightful group of people. They are very unlike other Christians because they never talk about God. And they will talk about anything else except God. And among the members you have atheists, humanists, Buddhists, and all kinds of people. So we discuss anything except God, you know. And to my delight, I discovered lately there is another group called Unitarian Universalist Buddhist Fellowship. Yeah. And I tell you, they are the most delightful group of Buddhists because their manifesto or their aspiration is they say something like, we aspire to find out what the historical Buddha really taught and how we can understand this. During the conference recently, they used the word after Buddhism, something like how to regain the message of the Buddha. So they're very serious about what we're doing here. And they're not into rituals, they're not into superstition. And their leader currently is Stephen Batchelor. And he's a very serious Buddhist, respected Buddhist from Britain. Stephen Batchelor. Batchelor. Anyway, this is just something for you to think about, because sometimes we can get really frustrated with all these rituals and stupid things we see in the name of Buddhism. You might think everyone's going crazy and that no one is really wanting to know serious Buddhism. Now, there are people who actually want to know Buddhism as it is without all this baggage. So in case you feel lost, just try to look up this. It's a new group, a small group. In fact,
it's a worldwide organization.
Yeah, it's a very old organization, and the UU in Singapore started around 1993, I think. Whereas this other one, around not so quite recent, I think 2006 maybe. So something worth finding out about. UUBF. You look under Unitarian, you will probably get the rest of it. Anyway, I'll be writing something about them in one of my future reflections also. Okay, so I think we can end here for today. Right, so on this first day of our lesson for this new year, let us again reflect this wonderful opportunity we have, the place, our presence, our mental health, our attention, and the presence of the suttas themselves are all there. All the conditions are right. All we need to do is reflect on these teachings, try to practice them as best as we can. And from there, we plant the seeds of awakening so that this Dharma will arise in us in due course. Reflecting in this way is wonderful good karma. By the power of such karma, may we be blessed with the wisdom and courage to aspire to attain at least stream winning in this life itself. In this moment of peace, let us send out our loving kindness to all the beings here, to all the people who are working to make this place successful in the Dharma. And all those who come here seeking solace, may they be well, may they be happy. And to all our loved ones and relatives and friends, that they be well and happy too. And to those who are seeking the Dharma, those who have difficulty in any way, may they too see the Dharma and find some level of awakening in this life itself. May all beings be well and happy. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.